The chamber was too bright for morning. Light poured through crystalline walls that bent starlight into gold, and the crowd of alien delegates shimmered like jewels arranged for judgment. Above them, the Galactic Emperor floated on his throne of light, a figure draped in silk energy, his eyes like molten glass. Before him stood 3 human women in black uniforms, wrists bound in silver bands that pulsed with containment energy. They did not kneel. They stood upright, the way soldiers do when they already know what's coming. The translator drones buzzed with static as the Emperor spoke. Humanity is hereby found guilty of defiance against the galactic order. Your crimes, emotional warfare, biological unpredictability, and irreverence toward established peace, shall be answered with your extinction. The audience of hundreds of species applauded politely. In the galleries, a dozen cameras floated, recording history's final human chapter. The eldest of the 3 women, General Avellini Shore, smiled faintly. "You rehearsed that speech?" she asked softly. The translator repeated it in perfect alien monotone, and laughter rippled through the crowd. The Emperor's expression twitched. Next to her, General Rivera folded her hands. "He did. Took him 12 days. He still mispronounced irreverence." The youngest, General Harlow, chuckled. "I give it a 6 out of 10. Lacked emotional range." Their restraint unsettled the hall. The Empire's guards tensed, even their rifles hummed nervously. Avellini raised her chin and spoke again, her voice steady, her tone that of someone offering a toast instead of a defense. "We warned you that humanity fights differently. Not with numbers. With intent. You never understood the difference." The Emperor gestured sharply. "Enough. Execute them." The sound came not as one shot, but 3, sharp, bright streaks of plasma slicing through silence. When the echo died, 3 human bodies lay still, smoke rising from their uniforms like incense at a funeral. The smell of burned ozone and skin filled the chamber. The crowd exhaled relief. Somewhere in the front row, an aged alien ambassador, a pale, translucent creature with 6 glassy eyes, closed them slowly. He had been there 70 years earlier when humans first joined the galactic fold. He remembered their awkward greetings, their handshakes, their coffee rituals, their jokes that made no sense. And he remembered the one they locked away, the man they called Baba Yaga. He whispered now, trembling, "You fools. You've just opened the door." The Emperor ignored him. He stood triumphant before the cameras, announcing the official end of the Terran experiment. On hundreds of worlds, screens flickered with the image of 3 fallen humans, the caption reading, "Peace restored." In every bar and broadcast station, alien citizens cheered. Some raised drinks. Some sighed with relief. Some whispered, "Finally, the unpredictable species is done." But in the far reaches of Saturn's orbit, on a forgotten moon facility carved into Titan's rock, a door hissed open for the first time in 70 years. The facility's AI spoke softly. "Containment seal Delta 20 breached. Authorization signal. External trigger." Inside, the air was thick with cold. A single light flickered above a cell, where a man sat cross-legged in the dark, hair gray at the temples, eyes closed. His hands rested calmly on his knees, palms scarred, the skin marked by burns that healed decades ago. A young technician approached hesitantly. "Sir, the news from the Senate, they executed the 3 generals." The man's eyelids lifted. The pupils were black, depthless, patient. His voice, when he spoke, was almost gentle. "All 3. "Yes, sir." A slow exhale fogged the air. The man stood, stretching like an old lion waking from a dream. "Then the ceasefire's over." The lights flickered again. Somewhere deep in the base, old machines hummed, the kind built before the Empire ever existed. The kind humans made when they still feared no one. The technician stammered, "Sir, the Council disbanded decades ago. Humanity, well, what's left of it, lives under the Empire now. There's no army." The man smiled faintly, as if the thought itself were sweet. "There's always an army. You just need to know where to knock." He stepped forward, and with each step, the magnetic restraints around the cell dissolved like mist. He reached for the black case sitting beside his bunk. Its metal surface bore the faded emblem of an extinct unit, a circle with a single phrase beneath. "Civility is our camouflage." When he opened it, the chamber filled with soft blue light. Weapons older than most civilizations gleamed. Handcrafted steel, polished carbon, and a single sidearm engraved with human script. "For when diplomacy fails." He looked at it for a long time, thumb tracing the letters. "They always said peace was a choice," he murmured. "They never asked what happens when you take it away." Outside the cell, alarms began to scream as the facility recognized unauthorized activity. But the man moved calmly, buttoning the crisp collar of a long dark suit that no longer fit the fashion of any known era. He adjusted his tie in the reflection of the glass wall and said quietly, "Let's go remind them." As he walked down the corridor, doors slid open ahead of him, systems obeying his presence without command. Surveillance drones followed, whispering identifications across encrypted frequencies. Subject: Project Baba Yaga. Status: reactivated. From Titan's frozen surface, a signal burst outward, crossing void and gravity wells in seconds. It reached Earth, now a quiet museum world, then pulsed further into deep space, awakening old networks buried beneath alien communication grids. Across the galaxy, long silent satellites stirred, their names simple, almost mocking: Lullaby, Homecoming, Last Coffee. In the Senate Hall, amid celebrations, the Emperor suddenly froze as a holographic notice appeared before him. "Incoming transmission, origin, Earth." The feed opened to static. Then, through flickering snow, came a man's voice. Calm. Steady. With the dry, disarming humor that once unnerved every diplomat in the galaxy. "Good evening, Your Majesty," the voice said. "You've done something very foolish. You killed the only people holding the leash." Every translator drone in the chamber stalled, trying to process the tone. Half polite greeting, half lethal promise. The Emperor's eyes widened. The voice continued, softer now. "You've reminded humanity what we're good at. And trust me, we don't forget lessons like this." The feed cut off. In the stunned silence, the old ambassador whispered again. "You should have left him buried." Outside the window, the stars seemed to dim. A pulse of blue light rippled from the direction of Sol, small at first, then spreading, like dawn breaking across the void. On Titan, the man known as the Baba Yaga holstered his weapon, exhaled once, and murmured to no one in particular, "Let's begin." And in that breath, the galaxy remembered that humanity had always been polite only until it wasn't. He moved through the ruin, like a man walking through his own grave. The abandoned Terran archive smelled of rust, smoke, and old rain leaking through fractured ceilings. Everything was silent except for the faint hum of holographic projectors, flickering on their last sparks of power. Dust swirled through frozen light beams, snapshots of a dead species looping endlessly. One image showed a picnic by a lake, another an astronaut smiling under the first lunar flag, another a small dog looking straight into the camera. The ghosts of humanity played for no audience. The man, known in every whisper now as Baba Yaga, paused before a cracked display still running an outdated interface. His reflection looked back at him. Older, scarred, yet eerily calm. "You've aged well," he muttered. The AI embedded in the console chirped weakly, recognizing his voice print. User confirmed. Project Baba Yaga. Time since deactivation, 70 years. "Feels like yesterday," he said, brushing off the dust. He tapped a command into the console, pulling up data on the Empire's networks. They had spread like mold, efficient, predictable, suffocating. The execution of the 3 woman generals was already trending across 1,000 worlds. Hashtags of celebration. Memes. He stared at the glowing headlines for a long time. "You killed them for peace," he murmured. "That's the same mistake every empire makes." Outside, the wind howled through the empty corridor. Then came a sound he hadn't heard in decades, the rhythmic clicking of magnetic boots. He sighed softly. "And here comes the welcome committee." A squad of alien commandos moved in, sleek armor painted in silver tones, weapons humming with energy. Their leader, a scaled creature with golden eyes, raised his rifle. "Human. Identify yourself." He smiled gently. You already know who I am. You wouldn't have come otherwise. The commander hesitated. The Baba Yaga is a myth. You are a prisoner who escaped containment. You will return to your cell. That's impossible, he said with a small shrug. The cell's gone. Along with your element of surprise. The aliens fanned out. His hand moved before thought. A knife flashed, simple, metallic, no energy signature, and buried itself in the nearest soldier's throat. He stepped sideways, catching the falling weapon midair, pivoting smoothly. The motion was poetry written in muscle and instinct. 1, 2, 3, each alien dropped without a sound. No rage, no triumph. Just method. When the dust settled, the commander stood alone, trembling. You can't win against the Empire, he said. Baba Yaga tilted his head, expression polite, almost regretful. You misunderstand. I'm not fighting the Empire. I'm educating it. He fired once. The commander fell. Silence reclaimed the archive. He crouched beside the broken projector, watching as another hologram flickered to life, a recording of the three generals laughing over coffee. Rivera teased Harlow for spilling sugar. Avellini leaned back, smiling. Promise me, she said. If they ever forget what humans are capable of, you'll remind them. His throat tightened for the first time in years. You shouldn't have said that out loud, he whispered. You know I keep promises. He turned back to the console, entering an ancient override code. The system groaned, accessing long-buried nodes that hadn't pinged in decades. Across the void, a network began to stir. Tiny pulses awakening dead satellites, sleeper AIs, autonomous defense systems disguised as communication arrays. Each one linked, recognized his signal, and answered in a single word. Active. The man leaned back, muttering under his breath. The house wakes up when you knock right. Then, through the static, another voice crackled from the console. A voice layered, synthetic, but distinctly human. This is AI Command Node Hestia. Confirming reactivation Protocol Lazarus. Awaiting directive. Broadcast this, he said. To every Empire frequency. Keep it polite. Message content? He smiled faintly, straightening his tie. Tell them humanity apologizes for the inconvenience. The AI hesitated. That is the entire message? That's all it needs to be. The transmission left the moon like a whisper, quiet but unstoppable. Every Imperial sensor caught it. Every commander laughed at it. But those who knew human history didn't. They understood what an apology meant when spoken like that. A new voice echoed behind him. Young, hesitant, alien. A survivor from the skirmish, barely more than a cadet, crawled from the rubble. Why are you doing this? Your kind swore peace. He turned, eyes soft. We did. Peace is sacred to us. That's why it hurts more when it's broken. They'll kill you. He walked closer, crouched, and met the creature's frightened gaze. Maybe. But they'll never sleep easy again. He stood, offering a small nod. Run home. Tell them the polite monsters are awake. As the cadet fled, he holstered his weapon and walked deeper into the ruin, toward a massive circular door half buried in dust. The letters above it were faded but legible. Earth Strategic Vault. He placed his hand on the biometric pad, and the metal groaned open with a sigh. Rows of cryogenic pods blinked to life, each containing not soldiers but data cores, the memories, doctrines, and instincts of fallen humans uploaded for safekeeping. He walked among them like a priest in a cathedral. 70 years of silence, he said softly. Let's see who still remembers the steps. Each pod hummed, downloading strategies into dormant AI fleets scattered across distant colonies. Terran warships that had masqueraded as mining barges began to realign their coordinates. Ancient satellites, mistaken by aliens as derelict debris, reactivated and recalibrated weapon arrays camouflaged as communication dishes. Humanity's resurrection didn't roar. It unfolded quietly, elegantly, like a symphony beginning with a single note. From orbit, a patrol ship detected strange heat signatures across Titan's surface. The captain sent a message to command. Unidentified human activity detected. Command replied seconds later. Eliminate immediately. The ship descended through the thick orange haze. Inside the ruin, Baba Yaga heard the engines. He closed the vault behind him and whispered, "You're early." When the first missile hit, he didn't flinch. The impact tore through the upper structure, raining dust and flame. He emerged through smoke, eyes glowing faintly under the reflection of firelight. The patrol ship's external speakers boomed. "Surrender, human." He raised a small communicator to his mouth. "Negative. But I appreciate the invitation." He tossed the device into the air. It detonated mid-flight, sending an electromagnetic surge that crippled the ship instantly. It fell like a wounded beast, exploding against the cliffs. He watched quietly as debris burned across Titan's horizon. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, in the static-filled wind, he whispered to the ghosts of the 3 women who had died for peace. Lesson 1. Never corner something that learned to evolve under pressure. He turned toward the stars, expression unreadable, voice lowering to a promise. Time to teach the galaxy the rest of the curriculum. And somewhere beyond Saturn, the first of humanity's hidden fleets opened its eyes. The galaxy woke up to a nightmare it didn't understand. The first sign came when the Imperial Navy lost contact with its forward base near the Sol perimeter. No explosions. No distress call. Just static. Within hours, 6 more outposts went dark, each blinking out like dying stars. The Senate broadcasted calm messages about routine interference. But across the trade networks, panic spread faster than truth. On the holoscreens of 1,000 worlds, reports clashed. Some claimed ghosts, others solar flares. One outlet even suggested primitive Terran malware. No one said it aloud. But everyone knew what rumor was whispering. The humans were back. In the Emperor's war chamber, tension thickened like smoke. Admirals of every alien race stood around a holographic map, showing the Sol system pulsing with blue anomalies. The Emperor's voice cut through the silence. "Explain this." An insectoid strategist trembled as he spoke. "We intercepted a transmission, sire." A single sentence repeated on all channels. He pressed a button. The room filled with the soft, human voice that had haunted their ancestors. "We don't start fights. We finish them." The Emperor's jaw tightened. "Propaganda." "No, sire," said another officer. "It's attached to code that's disabling our ships." A sudden alarm blared. The hologram flickered, replaced by a message. "Network compromised. Access revoked by Earth Command." The lights dimmed. For a moment, the Emperor saw his reflection in the holographic glass, small, furious, and suddenly mortal. On the outer rim, fleet commanders tried to rally, but their ships began behaving strangely. Targeting systems refused to lock. Life support controls rerouted without input. Then, the screens lit up with old Terran phrases. "Have a nice day." "Sorry for the inconvenience." "Peace mode enabled." The humor confused them even more than the sabotage. One admiral yelled, "They're mocking us." Another whispered, "Or warning us." Across colonies, civilians began panicking. Merchants shut ports. Communication grids glitched, playing faint echoes of human music, old blues riffs, military drums, even a clip of someone saying, "Coffee's ready." The Empire's citizens didn't know if it was signal interference or psychological warfare. But every melody carried the same eerie rhythm: human confidence. Meanwhile, in a hidden command vessel disguised as debris orbiting Mars, Baba Yaga stood before a projection of the galaxy. His reflection glimmered in its blue light. "How's the panic index?" he asked. An AI voice responded, calm and precise. 72% of Empire systems report internal failure. 35 worlds have declared martial law. Your message has achieved desired distress. He smiled faintly.
See?
You don't need armies when you can weaponize imagination. A hologram of an alien journalist appeared, broadcasting across the galaxy. Experts claim humanity had no remaining fleets, yet strange vessels resembling ancient Terran ships have been sighted in over 9 sectors. No aggression so far, only observation. The clip replayed on dozens of channels, each planet interpreting it differently. Some demanded retaliation, others pleaded for diplomacy. But none understood that this chaos was the retaliation. The Emperor summoned his High Council. They cannot have built fleets. Earth was disarmed. A nervous aide cleared his throat. With respect, sire, the Terrans never build without building twice. What if the second one was hidden? The Emperor slammed his clawed hand on the table. Then find it. But deep within the Empire's archives, encrypted messages surfaced, signed by long-dead human diplomats. They contained jokes, recipes, even cat pictures. Yet embedded within them were digital seeds, stealth codes waiting decades to bloom. Every Empire mainframe that had ever accessed human culture now carried their virus. On the planet Lixer, a scientist studying old Terran art found her lab doors locked. The computers played an old Earth song. "It's a wonderful world." She stared, heart pounding, as her instruments shut down one by one. In the chaos, one alien admiral, gray-skinned, weary-eyed, requested a private meeting with the Emperor. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "we cannot win a war against ghosts. They are fighting us with irony and nostalgia." "Irony?" The Emperor spat. "Yes. They make us laugh before they strike." The Emperor turned away, his reflection trembling in the obsidian floor. "Then we stop laughing." He ordered a full strike toward Sol. Thousands of ships ignited their engines, forming the largest armada in recorded history. The galaxy's eyes turned toward the blue star system, waiting for vengeance. But when the fleet arrived, there was nothing. No stations, no resistance, just silence. The admiral of the lead ship reported, "We see fragments of orbiting junk, sir. Derelicts. No signs of life." Then one of the derelicts, an old Terran satellite, blinked red. Words appeared on every monitor. "Thank you for visiting. Please enjoy your stay." Moments later, every ship's reactor shut down simultaneously. Lights dimmed. Engines failed. A deep, rolling human voice echoed through the comms. "You came to our house uninvited. It's only fair we redecorate." Across the fleet, airlocks opened at random. Not explosively, deliberately. Systems vented oxygen, cooled reactors, preserved lives. The entire armada was rendered harmless in 30 seconds. Not destroyed, disarmed. In the Emperor's palace, the war table flickered with incoming reports. Fleet neutralized. Weapons unresponsive. Unknown override protocol, tagged Operation Courtesy. The Emperor stared in disbelief. Courtesy? Then a new transmission appeared, this time with a human face, Baba Yaga's calm expression framed by the void behind him. "Your Majesty," he said, voice polite, almost friendly. "I trust the accommodations meet your standards. I'm afraid your fleet violated local hospitality laws. But don't worry, everyone's alive. We're civilized after all." "You," the Emperor started, but the human continued. "I suggest you call off your forces. We don't want blood. We just want memory. Remember the women you executed? They represented restraint. You removed that." He paused, leaning forward slightly, tone softening. "I'm not here to conquer your galaxy, Emperor. I'm here to remind it how lucky it was that humans wanted peace." The feed cut before the Emperor could respond. For a long moment, no one in the hall moved. The silence was total, an empire holding its breath. Somewhere far away, a child watching the news turned to his father and asked, "Daddy, what are humans?" And the father whispered the oldest answer the stars had ever known. "The reason we stopped making war." The transmission ended, but the echo of human laughter lingered in the comms, a warm, impossible sound that terrified the galaxy more than any weapon ever could. The Emperor's throne room no longer gleamed. Smoke curled against fractured glass, the banners of the Galactic Empire hung in tatters. Outside the palace, the capital world of Varelion was eerily quiet, its skies filled with drifting starships rendered powerless. The Emperor sat slumped upon his throne, surrounded by guards whose weapons no longer worked. The air carried the distant hum of static, human transmissions looping across every channel. He had spent the night listening to them, laughter, piano notes, someone reciting a poem about rain. It was psychological warfare, yes, but it was beautiful, and that made it worse. When the doors opened, no one stopped the man who entered. He wore a black suit torn at the shoulder, his tie half burned, his hair dusted with ash. He didn't walk like a conqueror, only like someone who had finished a long, unpleasant task. The guards lifted their blades, but he didn't even look at them. "Stand down," said the emperor, voice hoarse. "He's come for me." Baba Yaga stopped before the throne. "That's one way to put it. Though I'd prefer with you. Sounds friendlier." The emperor rose, trembling. This is your doing. You've crippled a civilization." "I've disabled your toys," the man corrected softly. "Crippling implies permanence. We prefer reversible consequences. Courtesy, remember." The emperor sneered. "You call this courtesy? Entire worlds are paralyzed. Armies powerless. Trade frozen." He shrugged faintly. A pause. Every predator needs a moment to understand its reflection. The emperor's voice broke. "You think you're righteous? You're monsters." Baba Yaga met his gaze calmly. "That's the difference between us. You think we're monsters. We remember what monsters do." He gestured toward the cracked ceiling, where the binary suns spilled dull light across the ruins. "You shot the 3 women who taught mercy to a species built for survival. They were the dam holding back our instincts. You destroyed restraint. This isn't revenge, Your Majesty. It's balance correcting itself." "You could have wiped us out," the emperor said quietly. "I could have," Baba Yaga admitted. "But then we'd be you." The emperor sank back onto his throne, hollowed. "What now? Now?" The human smile was faint, polite, unbearable. "Now we talk about peace." He walked slowly to the center of the hall, pulling a small metal device from his pocket. When he pressed it, holograms of hundreds of alien worlds shimmered around them. Planets, fleets, colonies, all glowing in blue. "Every one of your systems," he said, "is under Operation Courtesy Call. It's not a weapon. It's a handshake." The emperor frowned. "A handshake? Every time one of your ships powers its weapons, the system politely declines. Every time a nuke arms itself, the circuit reroutes. Every time a war vote passes your council, the encryption dissolves." He looked back toward the throne. "You've been disarmed, not defeated. You can rebuild. But you'll rebuild differently." The emperor stared, uncomprehending. "You've caged an empire. I've removed its teeth. Empires can't chew peace without choking on it." The chamber trembled as a communication ping echoed through the air. Hundreds of alien leaders begging for direction. The emperor ignored them, eyes locked on the man who had undone him with precision rather than destruction. "Why do this? Why not kill me?" Baba Yaga turned his gaze toward the floor, where faint traces of the 3 women's blood shimmered in old recordings replaying on the glass. "Because they wouldn't have wanted that." He walked toward the emperor, stopping within an arm's length. "Do you know what they taught us before they died? That power isn't what you can take, it's what you choose not to." The emperor swallowed. "And what happens if we break your peace?" "Then," Baba Yaga said softly, "you'll learn what happens when we stop being polite again." He pressed another command. The holograms changed, the blue points shifting into golden lights shaped like open palms across the galaxy. "We'll maintain the systems for a century. Long enough for you to remember fear, long enough for your children to know silence. After that, we'll leave. What you do next will tell the universe whether you learned anything." The emperor's composure cracked. His voice fell to a whisper. "And you? What will become of you?" The man chuckled, the sound weary and human. "I'm an old story, Majesty. My part ends here." He stepped back, holstering his weapon, the same sidearm engraved with "for when diplomacy fails." "I'd say we're back to diplomacy now." The emperor, exhausted, nodded once. "What should I tell my people?" "Tell them the truth," Baba Yaga said. "That you met a polite man who asked you not to mistake kindness for weakness again." He turned to leave, but paused at the doorway, glancing at the dead lights of the throne room. "Oh, and Majesty? You should probably get some sleep. You'll need it. The galaxy's about to dream again." He stepped outside into the blinding sunlight. The imperial courtyard was filled with silent soldiers, thousands of them, standing motionless under the soft blue haze of disabled armor. When they saw him, none raised their weapons. Some even bowed their heads. He passed them without a word. The wind carried dust and the faint smell of burned circuits. Overhead, the crippled fleet drifted aimlessly, engines stilled, banners waving like tattered ghosts. A holographic drone hovered near him, projecting the face of an alien journalist trembling with awe. "Sir, are you the one they call the Baba Yaga?" He smiled, tightening his glove. "That's one name for it. We just call it accountability." "What happens now?" the journalist asked. He looked up at the sky, where the suns gleamed over the wounded capital. "Now the galaxy gets a second chance. Don't waste it." The transmission went viral within minutes. Across billions of screens, species who had mocked humanity now watched him walk through the ruins. No army behind him, no crown above him. Just a man in a torn suit, walking away after ending a war without firing a single shot of vengeance. Later, aboard an old Terran shuttle waiting in orbit, he poured coffee into a tin mug. The AI voice chimed. "Operation Courtesy call complete. Awaiting your final directive." He leaned back in the pilot's chair, eyes closed, savoring the quiet. "Final directive?" he repeated. "Just one. State it. Let them remember we tried peace first." The ship rotated, facing the distant glow of Earth. Below him, the galaxy's war engines went dark. For the first time in a century, the stars looked calm. He sipped the coffee, grimaced. "Still too bitter." Then he smiled faintly and whispered to the empty cabin. "Guess the girls were right. I should have brought sugar." The shuttle disappeared into the light of the twin suns, leaving behind a galaxy haunted not by fear, but by the echo of human civility. The kind that came before the storm, and sometimes, mercifully, after it.